Imagine a world where the horizon was not a line to be crossed, but a barrier of shadow and myth. Across the early modern era, mariners navigated by the rhythm of the stars and the silent weight of accumulated experience. In 1513, the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis completed a world map on gazelle skin that appears to depict the coastline of Antarctica 3 centuries before its official discovery in 1820. How did maps created in the 16th century contain geographic data that was not officially documented until hundreds of years later? Section 1. Evidence. The cartographic record contains some very specific, meticulously plotted artifacts produced right across different regions and centuries. For instance, back in the 13th century, Pisan mariners compiled the Liber de Existentia Riviarium. Moving ahead to the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire produced the Piri Reis world map in 1513. Then the French Renaissance gave us the Orange Fine world map in 1531. And finally, Venetian cartographers produced the Zeno map a bit later in 1558. The 1531 Orange Fine world map is particularly notable for its precise rendering using a double cordiform or heart-shaped projection. When you look closely, this artifact displays a large, distinct southern landmass labeled Terra Australis, and the text actually explicitly notes this region as recently discovered but not yet explored. The physical custody and rigorous academic documentation of these maps are managed by established scholars and major historical institutions. Scholar B. Halil Etam Eldem documented the surviving fragment of the Piri Reis world map right at Topkapi Palace. Over at the British Museum, the keeper of maps, Richard Henry Major, documented the Orange Fine world map. The medieval Libre de Existentia Rivierarum was analyzed by Patrick Gautier-Dache at the British Library. Furthermore, scholar Frederick Lucas formally documented and evaluated the Venetian Zeno map in 1898. How did maps created in the 16th century contain geographic data that was not officially documented until hundreds of years later? Section 2. Objection. Through a rigorous cartographic analysis, Diego Cugi identified the southern landmass on the Piri Reis map not as some undocumented continent, but actually as a distorted representation of the Argentine coastline and Tierra del Fuego. Cugi observed that if you don't read it this way, roughly 1,200 miles of the South American coast would otherwise be entirely missing from the chart. By just adjusting the map's horizontal curve, the geographic profile aligns directly with the known South American continent. The primary text on the map itself directly contradicts a polar location, too. In his own marginal notes regarding that disputed southern landmass, Piri Reis explicitly wrote that the territory is barren, hot, and populated by large snakes. Obviously, this specific climate and ecological description is completely irreconcilable with the sub-zero environment of Antarctica. It does, however, align perfectly with early European conceptions of South America. Historical context addresses other cartographic features as well. For example, Robert King positions the Terra Australis on the Orange Fine map strictly as a theoretical construct arising from Ptolemaic geographic symmetry, rather than any empirical observation. Furthermore, the Algarve History Association documented the catastrophic 1755 Lisbon earthquake. This huge seismic disaster completely destroyed the Casa de India archives, incinerating 70,000 volumes and the primary records of exploration by early navigators. The destruction of these central archives created an artificial gap in the historical record, explaining exactly why subsequent European maps appear to contain geographic anomalies from undocumented voyages. How did maps created in the 16th century contain geographic data that was not officially documented until hundreds of years later? Section 3. Consensus. Mainstream historians and scientists broadly agree on a few key points. First, regarding the Venetian artifact, Frederick Lucas exposed the Zeno map as a 16th century forgery. Lucas demonstrated that the map was actually constructed by plagiarizing contemporary northern charts from Swedish and Dutch cartographers. Second, human navigation routinely exceeded documented European records. The PBS Wayfinders project documented that Polynesian and Austronesian wayfinders systematically settled the Polynesian Triangle between 3000 BC and 1000 CE, utilizing highly advanced oral traditions. Third, scientist Balint Bernoth documented that Scandinavian navigators utilized Iceland spar crystals to track the polarization of light. This allowed them to locate the sun and navigate securely even under totally overcast skies. How did maps created in the 16th century contain geographic data that was not officially documented until hundreds of years later? Section 4. Interpretation. Under the geographic memory hypothesis, one reading suggests that maps functioned as the frozen breath of 1,000 sailors. Instead of a single top-down survey, medieval pilots pooled their spatial memories, like drops of water, into a shared basin. Over generations, these isolated experiences formed a vast, deep ocean of collective navigational knowledge, constantly shifting and stretching as it was passed down from pilot to pilot. We actually have a biological parallel for this density of spatial memory. E.A. Maguire's documentation in the Journal of Neuroscience shows that London black cab drivers exhibit an enlarged hippocampus after memorizing 25,000 streets. Their brains physically adapt to hold vast, complex webs of spatial data. Now, juxtapose that biological reality with structural abstraction, such as Harry Beck's 1933 London Underground map, which was documented by scholar Alexander Kent. Beck entirely discarded geographical accuracy in favor of topological clarity. Early sea charts likely functioned through this exact mechanism, compressing, distorting, and abstracting vast networks of human memory into a legible, highly functional structure for survival out on the open ocean. How did maps created in the 16th century contain geographic data that was not officially documented until hundreds of years later? How will future historians interpret the geographic memory of our own era?